All right. Again, welcome everybody to Ask Doc Live. My name is Rebecca Dukes-Kozak, and I am honored to be your host every Friday. And I have my beautiful co-host with me, Nasima. Nasima, thank you so much for your assistance today, as we both just adore the man of the hour, 2 hours, Dr. Joel Wallach. I mean, he has done, his work has just been incredible in impacting both of our lives, Nasima and I both, and many of you that are on this call. And we just thank you so much for joining us every Friday. Now, I do have to make a little disclaimer, okay? So the content of this program is to provide nutritional education information only. This program is not meant to take the place of your primary care physician. And the FDA requires us to let you know that our products are not meant to treat, prevent, diagnose, or cure any diseases. As an empowered individual, you have options available, and we are honored to have one of the founding fathers of epigenetics here to guide us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. Dr. Wallach, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Good morning, Rebecca, and good morning, Nasima. Thank you for having me as usual.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us, because I know you have a busy schedule. Even though you're not on the road, you're probably just as busy now and reaching more people every day, every week than you did before.
That's right. So through Zooms, how many people do you have on a Zoom on a Friday morning?
I've seen 186.
Okay, and we've just been beginning. We've been just doing this for a couple of weeks, and so it's new. But some of the regular Zooms I've been doing for over a year, we have 7,000 to 10,000 people on. Okay, yeah, so it beats 50 people in an auditorium.
That's for sure. Absolutely.
So I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much. You're doing great.
Well, thank you so much. So, Dr. Wallach, I have had so many questions coming in, and people that are actually near to dear to me, people who I went to school with, their parents now have been diagnosed with different forms of dementia. And I know that you have had some amazing experience working with people in this neurological realm. Could you please share with us some information about that?
Okay, well, thank you so much. And you said it correctly, which most people don't. All these different dementias. And basically, there's 8 different dementias, all of which are caused by different deficiencies or different injuries to tissues. Okay? And usually, when people say they have a dementia, they'll say, I have Alzheimer's disease. My doctor says I have Alzheimer's disease. Now, why, if there's 8 different dementias, why is it always Alzheimer's disease? Well, that's because when you look at the insurance codes, more money is paid to treat Alzheimer's disease than any of the other dementias. And so the doctor, no matter which one it is, there's no rule that says you can't have 2 or 3 or 5 or all 8. I run into people that have all 8 all the time, okay? Because when you screw up one piece of the system, it's not difficult to screw up 8 pieces of the system. Alzheimer's disease is a physician-caused disease. It never existed until they came out with statin drugs to lower cholesterol. Okay, and so it was a thing that was caused by the introduction of a drug onto the street, and this drug actually lowers the. I'm hearing something like water running or somebody chewing a sandwich or something.
I have a bird outside my window. Let me scare him. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Hopefully that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Is that better? Because everybody's muted.
Okay, yes, it helps. Thank you a lot.
All right.
Okay. So anyway, so you have to appreciate that 75% of the brain weight is the white matter of the brain, and the white matter of the brain is almost 100% cholesterol. Cholesterol is your best friend. Well, when the pharmaceutical industry introduced statin drugs to lower cholesterol because they falsely believed that cholesterol causes plaque in your arteries, plaque is filled with cholesterol, and heart disease is caused by cholesterol. All of that is false information. Plaque in your arteries and heart disease is not caused by cholesterol. There is no cholesterol in the plaque in the arteries. I mean, I've done 32,000 autopsies, 8,000 of which are human beings. And I can tell you that that's the truth. My thesis for my postdoctoral fellowship, which represents 20,000 autopsies, is in the Smithsonian Institute's National Treasure, because I reported things that were just the opposite of what everybody else was saying, okay? We go back 300 years ago in the days of sail, dementias were a big thing when people were out at sea for 3 months and so forth, and all they're eating is salt pork. They didn't have any vegetables or fruit or anything like that, and so they got scurvy. People were kind of familiar with scurvy, and there's memory problems involved with scurvy, right, which is a vitamin C deficiency. And by accident, there's one of the sea captains who had a little orchard in his backyard, and he was growing limes, and he would bring a little bucket full of limes on the trip with him. So, well, everybody else in the ship is just eating the salt pork because everything else they'd eat in a week or so, or it was spoiled, so they only brought salt pork, okay? So everybody would eat salt pork, but he had these limes, and he began to give it to some of his officers and so forth, and nobody on his ship, even though they were at sea for 3 months, would get scurvy. And, you know, they'd stop at some port and they'd talk in a bar and say, no, we don't see scurvy anymore on our ship. Were you doing anything different? No, we don't. Well, the only thing we do is the captain brings a bucket of limes. We all eat limes. And so that got through the British shipping fleets and also in the British Navy, and everybody began to eat limes, and it eliminated scurvy, including the dementia that was associated with scurvy. And that's why the British were called limeys.
I did not know that.
Okay, because of this one captain brought the limes on the ship, and he was able to get rid of scurvy. Now, he didn't know that it had vitamin C in it. They didn't know about vitamin C, but all they knew was that people who ate limes on these big trips never got scurvy. And so that's why the British were called limeys. Now, there were other nutritional deficiencies as well. You know, there's over 900 different nutritional deficiencies. And so it wasn't unusual that people get 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 8 and 10 of them, and they would get what is called beriberi. And beriberi is a deficiency primarily of one nutrient. The terminal event is congestive heart failure, but they would also on beriberi, they would have skin issues, and they would have memory issues. And there was also pellagra, which is another nutritional deficiency, and it had multiple things going on, including dementias. And then, let's see here. If they would, at a port or something, they would eat fried foods or use oils, what would happen is they would get plaque in their arteries, right? Including, people think when you get plaque in your coronary arteries, that's it. No, if you have plaque in your coronary arteries, you also have plaque in the arteries in your brain, your eyes, your kidneys, your legs, your lungs, and every artery in your body's got the plaque in it. So just doing a coronary bypass operation or putting a stent in one coronary artery is about as stupid, as cutting your hair by just pulling one hair out. Okay.
Doesn't that fall right in there with a knee replacement too?
Oh, well, we haven't even gotten there. Okay, we're talking about dementia. Yeah, same thing. Oh yeah, well, they all got arthritis. They all got osteoporosis. And of course, that's another one of the causes of dementia is osteoporosis of the skull. Osteoporosis of the skull causes 25 different diseases, which includes dementia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then there's, when you get coronary artery disease, you get plaque in the arteries of your brain, you get what's called vascular dementia because you can't get enough oxygen to the brain for it to function properly. And then comes along, some 60-something years ago, statin drugs to lower cholesterol because doctors falsely believed that cholesterol was the cause of plaque in your arteries. And they told people, now look, you got to give up cholesterol. You want a cholesterol-free diet. We got this drug, these statin drugs to lower your blood cholesterol, but we want you to stop eating eggs and meat and everything and eat more vegetables and fruit and more grains and everything, but stay away from cholesterol containing foods like eggs. Well, 75% of your brain weight is cholesterol. And they created Alzheimer's disease, which is a specific type of dementia. Now, I'm going to tell you a great testimony about Alzheimer's disease. Now, I treat literally thousands and thousands of people every day all around the world with dementias, most of which are called Alzheimer's disease because that's what doctors tell people they are. But it could be any one or three or five or all eight of the other dementias. So I always treat for all eight. I always treat for all eight. That's why I'm very successful at treating Alzheimer's disease, because I always treat for all eight. Well, to make a long story short, this is about 15 years ago. A lady calls me, and she's kind of weeping and crying, and literally. And she says, my brother Ray was diagnosed 12 years before she called me. So it was like 25 years ago. Okay. She says, and he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and the neurologist gave him these pharmaceuticals, and he slowly got worse. And 8 years ago, he goes into a coma. And they put him in a nursing home 8 years ago, and he's been in this coma for 8 years. He's being fed these artificial diets through his G-tube, and he's kept hydrated with IVs of salt water, saline solution, so he gets some electrolytes. And he's now at just about zero brain waves. They want to pull the plug on him because there's no cure for Alzheimer's disease on the horizon. They want to use the bed for somebody who has a better chance of living long enough to get. And so they want to pull the plug on him. I said, well, get 90 days. Even if you have to pay extra or whatever, give me 90 days and I can help him. She says, but I said, give me 90 days. So, and I told her what to do. I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get our Youngevity protein shake, okay? And I want you to give him a shake at breakfast, lunch, and dinner through his G-tube. You'll have to do it because they're not going to do it at the nursing homes. You're going to have to come 3 times a day and do it. Make him up the night before, take him there, put him in the refrigerator. You go there, you give him through his G-tube. It'll take you 5 minutes to pump it in there and you can leave. But you're going to have to do it. But instead of making it with water like the directions say, I want you to make it with a heavy cream. Then I want you to whip up 9 eggs and get these runny, soft scrambled eggs in butter and give him 3 of those eggs in that shake and whip it up real good. And each of those shakes, so that'll take care of the 9 eggs. And then I want you to give him 3 Synaptive in each of those shakes. Synaptive is our product that gives the brain cells the raw materials they need to make biological chemicals so they can talk to each other. When 3 of those capsules of the Synaptive in each of those shakes, then I want him to have the de-stress capsules, 3 of those in each of the shakes, the Ultimate Niacin Plus, 1 of those in each of the shakes. And then I want the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, 3 of those in each shake, because they support healthy blood pressure and healthy blood flow through blocked arteries. And we're dealing with Alzheimer's disease. We're dealing with things like beriberi, pellagra, vascular dementia, okay, Alzheimer's, all this stuff, okay? And then I want you to call me every 2 weeks and we'll tweak it based on what you're seeing in your brother. Call me every 2 weeks because you got 90 days. So she calls me in 3 days and she is wailing and howling and crying. I said, I'm saying to myself, how's your brother Ray? His name is Ray McGregor. I said, how's your brother Ray? And she says, well, he got up this morning. He thought he was only asleep one night. He didn't realize he was in a coma for 8 years. And he shaved, he got dressed, went back to work at the bank. He was a bank officer when he went into the coma 8 years earlier. And there was nobody there back then when he went into the coma. So all the people now working at the bank thought he was some crook trying to be clever and claim he was a bank officer so he could rob the bank. So the police are all there and there's a big hoo-ha and everything like that. But he doesn't have Alzheimer's disease anymore. He's perfectly normal just after 3 days.
That's incredible. That story gives me chills. I don't care how many times I've heard it.
Yeah, Ray McGregor. And of course, I do this, again, thousands of times a month all over the world because now, was it Alzheimer's disease? Was it vascular dementia? Was it beriberi? Was it pellagra? Was it osteoporosis of the skull? Was it 3 of those? Was it all 8? I don't know. Okay, but who cares? Now, doctors say they want you to take these statin drugs and get rid of cholesterol in your diet. Oh, one other thing, no, two other things. Cholesterol also makes up 95% of the weight of testosterone. And ED, erectile dysfunction, never really occurred until they started putting men on statin drugs to lower their cholesterol for plaque in their arteries. And they gave them ED because there was no more testosterone being produced. Okay, because testosterone is 95% by weight cholesterol. Okay, so guys out there, if you're on a statin drug, you want to box it up with a nice ribbon and give it to your doctor with love. And then there's women doctors, okay. Women, 95% of the weight of estrogen and progesterone is cholesterol. So women who go through menopause early or have really a bad time with menopause, I mean, they're really having a bad time, okay, because they follow the doctor's directions perfectly and they've given up cholesterol and red meat and all that kind of stuff, and they're taking statin drugs and they wonder why they're having all these problems. So that's why we have Xerafem and Xeratest. I'm 81 years old. Most people think I'm 50 because I don't have any wrinkles, and you know, I work 20 hours a day and I'm in 50 countries and so forth. And I can still whip 300-pound people with one hand by myself, even though I only weigh 142 pounds. I did spend 27 years in the military, so I know a little bit.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I retired as a lieutenant colonel. Thank you. But at any rate, I want everybody to know that you do not want to get your total cholesterol below 350. Now, doctors say they want you to get below 200. You're in trouble. You're going to get dementia. You're going to get ED. You're going to get terrible menopause. You're going to have every kind of disease you can think of, adrenal exhaustion. Every hormone in the body has cholesterol in it, right? And so you want to get your cholesterol between 350 and 500, but you want 99.9% all good cholesterol, which means you cannot be frying anything. You cannot be frying anything. And I would tell you, most of the diseases that you go to a doctor for, you can diagnose yourself, including dementias. You want to, you know, begin to look at some of our books, including my newest one, okay? It's all in your head, 25 different diseases, including dementias, all right, caused by osteoporosis of the skull. Now, Rebecca, have you ever heard of a doctor telling anybody about osteoporosis of the skull?
No, not once.
No, yeah, doctors don't even know you can get osteoporosis of the skull. All they talk about is osteoporosis of your vertebrae, your pelvis, your leg bones, your arm bones, your shoulder bones, and neck bones, okay, and so forth. And they never talk about osteoporosis of the skull. But it starts, you can be born with osteoporosis of the skull. If the mother's not getting enough nutrition to put minerals into your skull, you know, before you're born, you can be born with osteoporosis of the skull. The earliest treatment of osteoporosis of the skull is done by orthodontists who deal with teenagers that have all their teeth clumping up and moving around, you know, and causing problems. So they give them these braces and, you know, to kind of put them back in the proper place. That's because they already have osteoporosis of the skull and the facial bones and the jaw bones. It's osteoporosis of the skull causing the need for an orthodontist. Okay. Now, back when I was a kid, there was no such need for that. Okay. Nobody had those problems. But in those days, we were putting wood ashes from the stove into the gardens. All night, we would simmer bones in water on the stove, on the wood stove, and we'd have the bone broth for breakfast instead of oatmeal, which is gluten, right? And so, and we're putting eggshells and our wood ashes into the gardens, and the vegetables that suck up the calcium and the magnesium and the zinc and all the minerals that are in the wood ashes. And then we eat the vegetables. We're getting, people say, well, we never supplemented when we were a kid. Well, did you have a wood stove? Yeah, well, you supplemented then because you're putting wood ash. Yeah, well, that was my job. I put the wood ashes in the garden. Well, why'd you think you were putting them in the garden, stupid? Well, it made the plants grow better. Well, why is that? Because they had all those minerals in it. The tree, when you burn the tree, when you burn the carbon in the wood, you're burning the wood, but that ash is all the minerals that the tree had sucked up out of the ground. Well, nobody told me that. Well, that's because they don't know that. Okay, and so, you know, so people We know the exact moment, Rebecca. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, on Pearl Street in New York City, in the bluff overlooking the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge, Thomas Edison pulled the switch in the first commercial electric generating plant, and that was the beginning of the end of human health. Because when we converted to electricity, no more minerals in our food.
Right.
When you look at the mineral content of commercial fertilizers, which farmers buy by the tons and by the tanker loads if they're buying the liquid form, they only have 3 nutrients in them: NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Now, do farmers get paid by the nutritional value of the food or by tonnage?
By tonnage.
They get paid by tonnage. So they could give a rat's butt, okay, when it comes to how many nutrients in there. But on the other hand, when they're feeding that same food that they ship to the market for humans to animals, guess what? They put vitamins and minerals in there because they don't have health insurance for animals. And if they had to call a veterinarian out for bone problems, osteoporosis and arthritis and high blood pressure and diabetes and dementias and all this kind of stuff in animals, well, why didn't the milk cows come in today to get milked? I don't know. They all have dementia. They're all just out there standing in the pasture looking at each other. Oh, okay. But we put all these vitamins and minerals into these animal formulas because we don't have health insurance for them. And I figured that out when I was 9 years old. That's another long story. We can go into that another day. I figured it out when I was 9, and I eliminated diseases in myself that had been getting worse and worse and worse. My parents had taken me to 20 different doctors, and none of them could fix me. And I fixed myself in 3 days when I just started eating animal food. And so I said, well, what can I say? And that's when I learned about it when I was 9 years old. And so dementias are easy to reverse. They're all easy to prevent, and they're all easy to reverse. You get rid of the bad foods, and here's the second part of the problem. Number one, plants only need those 3 elements to give maximum yields and make good seeds for the next generation. Okay, and so when a vertebrate, whether it's a cow or a pig or a chicken or a human being, when you eat that food, if you're not supplementing with the 90 essential nutrients, you're going to wind up with all these diseases. Well, doctors didn't know anything about them, and they still don't know anything about them. So they call them nutritional deficiency diseases. No, they call them genetic diseases, or they might even call them autoimmune diseases. Things like lupus. They call it autoimmune disease. No, it's just a simple nutritional deficiency, all caused by gluten. And the gluten damage to the intestines, which result in all these different dementias, either 1 or 3 or 5 or all 8. The gluten damage is caused over time. It's a drip, 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 drip thing. It's not like switch on, switch off. Okay? Caffeine is switch on, switch off. I mean, you drink 2 cups of coffee, you're going to be woo kind of thing, right? But when it comes to gluten, you don't see damage to your intestines. Usually now, if the mother during pregnancy was eating gluten, and she's already got problems, that deficiency went into the baby. So the baby's already got gluten issues. And so when the baby's nursing the mother and turning red like a beet and screaming in pain and getting diarrhea, and the mother said, well, I tried to breastfeed my baby, he just couldn't tolerate my milk, so I had to put him on a baby formula. Well, that's because of the gluten coming through the breast milk. Okay, now, if that's not going on and the mother just goes right to the formula when the baby's born because she's working or whatever, the baby's going to get a formula. And back in 1945, when they first came out, they only had 3 nutrients in there. Okay, and so within 6 months to a year, 2 or 3 years, these kids wound up with all these diseases: cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy. They would die from sudden death syndrome. All these things they're calling these are genetic diseases, or the mother was laying on the baby and all that kind of stuff. No, they were just nutritional deficiencies. I sued the FDA in federal court 10 times, prevailed every time, and it was to force these companies, Similac, Enfamil, these baby formula companies, to put these nutrients in. And as soon as we put these nutrients in the baby formulas, cystic fibrosis disappeared. I'm the one that discovered the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis in 1977 when I was working with NASA at the Yerkes Primate Center in Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they fired me because they said it wasn't a genetic disease. And I said, well, I knew you'd say that, but so I saved some frozen tissue from that monkey. And I also got permission to do biopsies, and the other 20 something monkeys were still alive in there, and they all had cystic fibrosis because the gal who was in charge of their diet, she was a psychiatrist, and she was messing around with their diet. Her name was Nellie Bourne was her name. And she messed up their diet. So all these 30 baby monkeys had cystic fibrosis, which she created. So I was able to understand what cystic fibrosis was. And I said, I save frozen tissues. I save blood from all those other monkeys. You can do it yourself. See what you get. No, you're fired. Well, that's when I went back to school to become a physician. Okay, at that point. And then I discovered working with a Navy SEAL who grew up Amish. That's kind of a strange story. He grew up Amish and went into the Navy and became a Navy SEAL. And when he retired after 20 years as a Navy SEAL, had been working with his mom and dad and was working in all these big Amish colonies in Utah and Idaho. And they have a very high rate of birth defects in all these babies because it was breastfeed, but they wouldn't supplement. They were just eating what they grew, right? They didn't supplement. Right. And so basically what happened was I was able to, through him, okay, and through this Navy SEAL, I was able to talk to the Amish community, and I was able to eliminate muscular dystrophy by putting these nutrients into a formula that the mothers would eat as they're breastfeeding their babies. Okay, so those nutrients would come through her breast milk into the babies. Now, it's one of those things where I gave 50 charts to Jerry Lewis, okay? And he looked through it, and he actually went to these colonies and actually talked to those people and saw that the kids had recovered. He got so excited, he took those 50 charts to the Muscular Dystrophy Association telethon. He said, look, we got to make this known. We can eliminate muscular dystrophy. And they fired Jerry Lewis in 2011 before he even walked out of the office. He gave them the material. They looked at it, and they fired him before he walked out of the office. After 20 years and raising $2 billion for them, they fired him immediately. And by 2015, 4 years later, they fired him in 2011. 4 years later, they had to stop the telethon because they couldn't raise one penny without Jerry Lewis. Well, you don't hear anything about muscular dystrophy. You don't hear anything about cystic fibrosis anymore because they're gone, because I made sure that those nutrients are in baby formulas by suing them in the federal court. Lastly, we got time for one more short one?
One more short one.
Okay, the short one is sudden death syndrome. Only 2% of the babies who die of sudden death syndrome are in bed with their mothers when they die. 98% weren't. So I went back and I redid many of the autopsies, and they didn't suffocate. They died from hypertrophic cardiomyopathy heart disease, which is that sudden heart death that kills young athletes. And Dr. Milan and I have done 1,700 autopsies of kids under the age of 10 that have died of that one, published in 3 journals, 3 different languages. The English one is the Journal of Trace Element Research, published in 1990 in the United States. So you can look at it and say, well, like, you didn't do 1,700. Yes, I did 1,700 autopsies. And so at any rate, to make a long story short, my last lawsuit, okay, the federal judge ruled April 16th, 2013, that nutrient must be put in baby formulas, okay? A year and a half later, September 13th, 2014, there was a big headline in the Charlotte Observer, which is kind of like the New York Times for New York, is the Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, like the Third World War, big, heavy duty. We don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished in the state of North Carolina. 3 months later, we don't know why, but the sudden death syndrome has vanished in the state of Missouri. 3 months later, in every newspaper in the world, we don't know why, but sudden death syndrome diagnosis has dropped dramatically by 85 to 95% in the world. That's because I forced them to put that nutrient into baby formulas. So we've eliminated cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, and sudden death syndrome, all of which were totally 180 degrees misdiagnosed by the medical system, and just took a dumb farm boy from Missouri to figure it out and eliminate it. And so we're very proud of that.
Well, I am proud to be on this call with that dumb farm boy, who is the smartest man I know. So thank you so much for that, Dr. Wallach. You know, and I want everybody to know, Dr. Wallach has so many publications that shares his research that's proof of what he is saying is absolutely true. You can find all of his publications at www.drjwallach, and let's get that spelled right, WALLACH.com. Okay, you can go there, find all of his publications, or our webmaster Jonty has just put his most popular books on AskDocLive.com, so you can find them there as well. So Dr. Wallach, Nasima and I both get emails and calls all the time, and I know you have mentioned this so many times. Well, oatmeal's gluten-free. Why does Dr. Wallach still say it has gluten?
It does. It is not gluten-free.
I was raised on oatmeal. You talk about, you know, kids being born with osteoporosis of the skull. I had symptoms at 8 that I remember. So it just blows me away that everything you're saying, I'm thinking back, and it's like, wow. If I would have known, you know, 20 years ago, what I know now, that would have saved me a lot of pain. But
yes,
I appreciate it now. So could you please share with us about oatmeal?
Okay. Well, oats, is not gluten-free. The gluten in oatmeal is called gliadin. And even if you shoot yourself in the head with a projectile, it'll still kill you, even though it's not called a bullet. Okay. And so it doesn't matter what you call it, it's still gluten. And so there are no such things as gluten-free oats. If anybody wants to sell you gluten-free oats, you call the police and say, look, this guy's trying to kill me. I want to press charges against him. Okay. There are no such things as gluten-free oats. The gluten in oats is called gliadin. And any doctor who says, don't worry about what Wallach says, just eat your oatmeal for breakfast, you'll be fine. No. He has 3 sons he's putting through college, and he needs the tuition money. That's why he wants you to stay on the oatmeal. Okay. And if he doesn't know that oats have gluten in them, then he should be put in jail anyway for stupidity. Okay. He shouldn't have a medical license in telling people they can eat oats. And there's so many diseases. There's 600 different diseases you get from eating gluten, because those are all nutritional deficiency diseases. And once you get to a certain level, let's say 50% of your intestines are damaged because you've been eating gluten for 25, 30 years, right? So now 50% of your intestines are damaged, and your villi in your intestines are almost all gone. They're a little bit there, but they're almost all gone. And they are only absorbing maybe 30% of the nutrients, even if they're supplementing, because they have 50% damage to their intestines. And so they might get eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis. They may have some constipation. They might get ulcerative colitis, those kind of things. The doctors will diagnose them as autoimmune diseases and give them prednisone. They'll immediately start showing some improvement in their symptoms because they're treating the symptoms. Well, another 10 years goes by, and now you're 53, 60 years old, and now 80% of your intestines are damaged, and now you're getting high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis. You got kidney failure, you're on dialysis, your thyroid is all screwed up, and they want to take your thyroid out. You have paralysis in your arms because you have what's called Erb's palsy, which is really just osteoporosis of the skull, squeezing the spinal cord as it's coming out of the back of the skull. There's many doctors don't even know that your spinal cord is formed in your brain and comes out of the back of your skull. Okay, that's how ignorant they are. And so then when you get 99% of your intestines damaged, no matter how much you're supplementing, and this is why they diagnose people at age 65 with type 1 diabetes. They're perfectly normal for 65 years, and then they get diagnosed at age 65 with type 1 diabetes, which is a birth defect. Well, how'd that happen? Well, they wound up with that deficiency. There's 1 or 2 nutrients, either one or both of them in deficiency will cause type 2 diabetes. And they'll give you an oral medication for the type 2 diabetes that won't work. They say, okay, let's see here. And they come into the office, they give them an injection of insulin right there, and their blood sugar just drops like a rock. You say, oh, you got type 1 diabetes, not type 2. That's because they bypassed the intestines by giving them the injectable medicine, because they couldn't absorb the medicine as well as they couldn't absorb the nutrition. Oh yeah, I can take the aspirin, doesn't help this headache. Well, why doesn't aspirin help that headache? Because all your villi in your intestine are gone. You can't even absorb the aspirin. Okay, so you've heard people with these stories. Oh man, my headaches are terrible. I got to go in once a month for injections, that kind of stuff. Okay, and I have all these hemorrhages. My nose bleeds like a garden hose flushing all the time. So I got to go in once a month for a B12 shot and an iron shot. Okay, because I have low platelets and all that kind of stuff, because you couldn't absorb iron and B12 even if you're supplementing, because your intestines are all damaged. Now here it comes, Rebecca. When a 3-year-old gets COVID, their temperature will go up less than a half a degree. I can't even call it a fever, because their temperature goes up from their normal 98.6 to 98.9 or something like that. They'll have common cold-like symptoms for 3 days, and then it's over with, no problem, no worries, okay? But if you're 63, 73, 83, and you get COVID, suddenly now your temperature goes to 103, you have respiratory symptoms, you have to go into the hospital, they put you on the respirator for 2 months, and many people get serious side effects. When they come out, they're not well, or worse yet, they die. And of course, we've talked about this guy before. Let's see here, Herman Cain, a billionaire. He was the CEO of Godfather's Pizza, 74 years old. The last day of June of this year, he was diagnosed with COVID-19, and he was laughing and giggling, and they put him in the hospital because he had some respiratory symptoms, and they put him on the respirators, and they were giving him antiviral medication for a viral pneumonia. And at the end of July, 29 days later, he dies because he had 8 pre-existing conditions. These 8 pre-existing conditions were all nutritional deficiencies, and he couldn't absorb the oral medication. So when they did the autopsy on him, this billionaire died 30 days later because they were treating him incorrectly. They did the autopsy on him. They found that all his capillaries in his lungs and his liver and his brain and his heart and every place else, and his kidneys and his muscles and his bones, all the capillaries were filled with little clusters of red blood cells. And I use the word clusters. They were kind of like blood clots, but there were no platelets in the blood clots because his bone marrow was dead, because he'd been eating Godfather's Pizza for 50 years. And the crust is made from gluten alert, gluten alert, gluten alert.
Yep, that's right. That's
Okay.
right.
And
Wow.
so if they can kill a billionaire in 30 days and get a walk, what chance do you have? So do these things yourself. Stay away from them. You get run over by a truck and you're bleeding internally, you got to go to the emergency room. But you want to diagnose diabetes, you want to diagnose kidney failure, you want to diagnose malabsorption problems, you get the quartet of books, Let's Play Doctor, Let's Play Herbal Doctor, Passport Aromatherapy, and it's all in your head. And it'll teach you how to diagnose all those things yourself. You can diagnose diabetes in 3 minutes with one test strip for $1.50. You don't have to pay a $100 office fee. You don't have to pay $200 for the laboratory work. And better yet, the doctor cannot kill you if you do this at home yourself. If you let them put you in the hospital for 2 weeks or a week or 5 days to see what's going on, say, let's put you in the hospital for a week here and do a bunch of tests and see what you got, because you have all these things in your family. I mean, it's all genetic, right? That's what they think.
Yep.
And so 8 weeks ago, Johns Hopkins came out with a study and said the number 3 cause of death in hospitals in America each year, and it goes back to 2013 is when they first started the study. The number 3 cause of death in American hospitals each year, 251,000 to 440,000 deaths, is caused by, let's see here, medical errors, and they get a walk. Now, what industry can kill 251,000 to 440,000 of their customers in their workplace and get a walk?
There's only one that I know.
The medical profession.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't let them put you in the hospital for 2 weeks, because if this guy's got 3 sons in college, you ain't going to make it out, or you're going to come out with 18 diagnoses. You'll be on 18 prescriptions and you won't make it long.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Wallach, you had mentioned something, people going on prednisone and stuff like that. Don't those steroids, don't they hinder your body's natural ability and natural responses? And that's why they feel results?
Well, 99% of all doctors' treatments are symptom relief. It'd be like when the red warning light comes on, on the dashboard of your car, instead of opening up the hood and look at how much oil you got and, checking the air filter and how much antifreeze you got in your radiator and stuff like that. Instead of doing all that kind of stuff, you just put a piece of adhesive tape over the red warning light. That's how doctors treat you. When you have pain in your knees, they say, look, let's get you on some steroids here. We'll get the inflammation down right away and we'll give you some pain relievers. And in a day, man, all that pain and swelling's down. I love my doctor, man. I had this pain for 2 years. And in like one day, it was all gone. I just love my doctor. And you just keep going. And then 2 years later, he says, okay, the reason why your pains come back, you have absolutely no cartilage left in your knees. And we're going to set you up for 2 weeks from now to do a double knee replacement. It's going to cost you $50,000 for each knee. And you've got insurance, don't worry about it. Oh, I lost my insurance last week because I was laid off because of the COVID thing. Oh, that's okay. I'll take $1,000 a month from you. Well, I don't have any money. Well, get a loan on your mortgage, okay? Get a loan on your house and pay me. Well, if you take your Longevity Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, it has a pain reliever in it. It has the raw materials to rebuild the cartilage and the ligaments and tendons and connective tissue in the bone matrix. If you have really serious stuff, you throw in the MSM, vitamin D3, and you can regrow all that. Well, my doctor says you can't regrow it. Your doctor's a liar. I do it thousands of times a day all around the world every day. Okay, you can regrow cartilage, you can regrow ligaments and tendons and connective tissue, but you cannot do it with prednisone and cortisone. You cannot do it with aspirin. You cannot do it with Tums. That was the doctor's answer. Yeah, well, I went to a nutritionist and they said I'm deficient in calcium. So the doctor said, just go to the pharmacy. You don't even need a prescription. You go to the grocery store and get some Tums and get your calcium that way. Any doctor that tells somebody to go get Tums when you have arthritis or osteoporosis should be put in jail for manslaughter.
Well, Dr. Wallach, we have several hands up right now. So let's go ahead and take some questions and let's get to the root causes and addressing things at the cellular level.
Okay.
All right. So first we have Donna with her hand up. Donna, go ahead and unmute yourself. You are on live with Dr. Wallach.
Thank you so much. Working on I'm tongue-tied. 70-year-old female, 5'2", 142. No diabetes, no skin rashes. Formerly compromised liver that has ascites. Taking the brain and heart pack, liver gallbladder support, immortalium, glucogel, selenium, MSM, and D3. Is missing anything?
Okay, 2 questions. Number 1, are you coloring your hair?
Yes.
Do you have white, gray, or silver hair?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. Do you have varicose veins?
Yes.
How did I know all that?
Because you're brilliant.
Okay. And so the same thing that causes liver cirrhosis, which results in, is pronounced ascites, okay, which is fluid in your belly cavity, okay, because your liver's not functioning properly. You're doing exactly right. So why are you still having all those symptoms? Because you haven't given up gluten completely yet, or somebody in your household, whether it's your dog or your cat or your neighbor. Do you work in a cafeteria? Do you work in a school lunchroom? Are you cooking meals with gluten in it for your spouse or your kids or your grandkids? You're contacting gluten someplace, so you're not getting 100% of your nutrients.
Maybe the dogs. I babysit dogs.
Okay, yeah, you want to find out if they're eating dry dog food, you can't babysit them anymore, okay? And so, yeah, basically you're not absorbing perfectly, and that's why you're having all those problems. And at 142, 152 pounds, I want you to take 3 selenium twice a day. I want to take 3 of those twice a day. Don't just take 1 a day. You want to take 3 twice a day. Your liver loves selenium. Selenium is to your liver as calcium is to your bones, okay? So you need to be taking more. Take 3 of those twice a day. And of course, again, I would go with the heavy hammer. You're taking most of it, but I just want to make sure that everybody hears. You should be taking 2 healthy brain and heart packs. Each one of the healthy brain and heart packs has a bottle of selenium in it. So that will allow you to take 3 selenium twice a day, 2 healthy brain and heart packs. And I want you to take the MSM, 3 of the MSM twice a day. That's 1 bottle a month. Okay, and that's going to help you with osteoporosis and arthritis, which you have at your age, which is, you said 72?
70.
70, okay, yeah. And so you have osteoporosis. Do you have any ringing in your ears, any tinnitus or ringing in the ears?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any balance problems, any vertigo or hiccups?
No.
Okay, good. And so don't forget vitamin D3. Take 3 of the vitamin D3 twice a day. That's 2 bottles a month. And the reason I want you to take 3 of those selenium, you could even take 9 if you wanted to, it wouldn't hurt you. But not only are you going to get the selenium for your liver, there's 5 cofactors that we add to our selenium. You can't just go to Walgreens and buy some selenium. You're not going to get the same effect. Okay. Now, one of those cofactors is a nutrient. When you're deficient in it, you get white hair, you get varicose veins, and you start getting wrinkles, and you start getting arthritis, and that kind of stuff, and also aneurysms. That's what killed Michael Jackson at age 51. Michael Jackson, you know, he wore that glove with all the jewels on it, and he started out with 2 gloves, and he put jewels on one of them, the one that he held the microphone with, so all the kids would see it, and they all thought it was part of the, you know, dressing up for the singing. But he had vitiligo. He lost all his skin color. He was a black guy who looked white, okay? And he also had varicose veins. He also had snow white hair, so he wore wigs all the time. And because he lost the skin color in his face and somebody's playing with dishes or something, okay? Okay, when he's, okay.
Because of the brown spots instead of
Yeah.
the opposite of the white, brown?
Yeah, 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 you can get brown spots, yeah. Okay, and that'll all go away. Okay, but at any rate, and he wore wigs, but he didn't take the supplements. And so because he didn't take the supplements, he was just dealing with the problem with gloves and garish makeup to cover, you know, the loss of pigment in his face, and wigs for loss of pigment in his hair. He died of a ruptured aortic aneurysm when he was 51 years old, which is the ultimate end when you're deficient in that nutrient that causes varicose veins. And this is what causes people to have aneurysms, is a deficiency of that nutrient. And it's very easy to get rid of. Those aneurysms will shrink right back into the artery and be normal. But you got to take everything, and you got to get rid of gluten so you can absorb efficiently. Get the gluten out of your life, dear.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Wallach, you had asked her if she had any balance issues. Now, if she did say yes to balance issues, what would you have added to?
Oh, I wouldn't have changed anything, but
Okay.
I wanted to go towards osteoporosis of the skull. When you have osteoporosis of the skull, one of the more common things that people complain about is that tinnitus, the ringing in the ears, okay, which is a squeezing of the auditory branch of the 8th cranial nerve, and gradually you're going to lose hearing, okay, and need hearing aids and things like that. And the squeezing of the vestibular branch of the 8th cranial nerve, you get vertigo, okay, or Wallach's vertigo is now called, named after me. And then if you get a squeezing of the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, you can get hiccups. So I always ask about that too, because a recurrent branch of the 10th cranial nerve controls your diaphragm. So when that gets squeezed, you get the hiccups. And also when you get a squeezing of the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, it was called atrial fibrillation, AFib. Now, you probably don't remember, and I may have talked about this guy some weeks ago, Elijah Cummings. 68 years old. He was, for 30 years, he was a U.S. representative for the state of Maryland, from Baltimore, Maryland. Everybody loved him. Okay, he was a Democrat, but everybody loved him, both from Democrats and Republicans, because he was just a people's person. He wasn't a politician. He was just a people person. And he'd been their elected official for 30 years as a result. Well, he developed osteoporosis of the skull and squeezing the 10th cranial nerve, and he got atrial fibrillation. So the doctor said, look, this your heart's jumping up and down, is flip-flopping back and forth, and it's uncomfortable. But worse yet, you're going to have, your heart will stop, and you're going to die if we don't fix that. And so we have a procedure called ablation, in which we touch the heart with a hot soldering iron, and it kills the part of the heart that's going crazy. And so we need to do that for you. And he said, you know, we're the cardiologists at Johns Hopkins Hospital. You can't get better than that. So he said, he okayed it. So he goes to Johns Hopkins Medical School. They anesthetize him in the surgery room. These two cardiologists cut him open, rip open his chest, take this hot soldering iron, touch his heart with him, and immediately kill him. They killed this U.S. representative with a procedure that they didn't need. If they'd have given him the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, some MSM and vitamin D3, he'd still be alive today, and he wouldn't have atrial fibrillation anymore either. Okay, but they killed him because they wanted that money from that procedure so they could send their boys to college. They get a walk. They killed a U.S. representative from an unnecessary procedure, and they get a walk. Now, what if that would have been a policeman? Kill him.
Yeah.
With that procedure.
It would have hit the news big time.
It would have hit the front page in big time.
Yeah.
So what other profession can kill 251,000 to 440,000 of their customers in their workplace every year and get a walk? They don't even get a parking ticket.
Yeah, it is very frustrating. And if anybody on this call is experiencing anything that Dr. Wallach has already spoken about, and you're wanting to address it at the cellular levels through nutrition, we do have a call team that is standing by waiting for your calls. These are for people that have never had any of the longevity products before. It's at 855-949-7234. Again, 855-949-7234. So that's radio at the end, if you just want to remember that. 855-949-radio.
Now, let me just say one thing there, Rebecca.
Yes.
This call team you're referring to is 50 people.
Yes.
Okay. There are 50 people. They've been with me for, some of them, 30 years. They know more than medical professionals when it comes, and they'll tell you exactly, if you didn't write down everything I said, they know exactly what I said. And they just love working with you and John T. and George Norrie. We have such a great relationship. We just love working with George's listeners, and this call team is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Like I say, some of them have been with me for 30 years, and they help so many, literally millions of people every month.
Well, and there's a lot of them on this call listening to what you're saying. So they know exactly what's being brought up, and they can help you right away. So we appreciate them. I know being on that call team, take lots of notes, Dr. Wallach, lots of notes listening to you. All right. So next, we have somebody that has commented in the comments. Joseph is a 77-year-old male, 285 pounds at 6'6", had surgery for a torn meniscus. He's taking glucosamine chondroitin. Any protocol that would be helpful, and what time of day should your protocols be taken is what he's requesting information on.
Okay, well, he needs to get rid of all the bad foods and maximize absorption so he doesn't waste his money. No fried foods, no processed meats with nitrates and nitrites, no oils of any kind, absolutely no gluten, no wheat, no barley, rye, and oats, including oats, no wheat, no barley, rye, and oats, no gluten, so he can maximize absorption. Even if he's been on gluten for 70 years, so his villi will heal in 90 days and come back. But he's got to stay away from gluten. Can't even say the word, okay? And then no sugar. And then I'm on, he weighs 280, did you say?
285.
Yep.
That's 6.
So he needs three Healthy Brain and Heart Packs per month. A full dose of everything at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I want him to get 2 bottles of the MSM, so he can take 3 with each meal. And they're going to support and promote maintenance repair of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, rotator cuffs, all that kind of stuff, skin. That's why I'm 81 years old and I don't have any wrinkles. You know, people think I'm 50 years old, okay, because I only have 1 tooth missing, which was knocked out in a fight, but the other guys, I knocked out all their teeth, so it was more than even. But at any rate, and so he also needs the glucogel. I want him to take 15 of those capsules. They'd be 2 bottles a month, take 5 with each meal. And because of his age and other things, he didn't say he had blood pressure issues, did he? Or diabetes?
He did not say, but if he nods his head yes or no, I'll be able to tell you.
Okay. Is he nodding his head? Yes, no?
No. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes to blood pressure issues.
Okay. So he also needs 3 bottles a month of the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, 3 at breakfast, 3 at lunch, 3 at dinner time. That'll be 3 bottles a month. And they're designed to support and promote healthy blood pressure as well as healthy blood flow through blocked arteries. And as long as he gets off his fried foods and oils and glutens, okay, guess what? All those plaques in his arteries will heal themselves, and the plaque actually goes away without surgery. And if he has varicose veins and aneurysms and all that kind of stuff, that all goes away. Hair color comes back. I get 100-year-old women, they just call me and want to hug me and kiss me because they're 100 years old and their snow white hair turns their original color again in about 90 days. They're just going crazy because their roots are coming in with their natural color. And you just got to be able to absorb the nutrients. So everybody's got to get rid of gluten. Women say, oh, I'm gluten-free. Well, you have all these problems. Are you cooking for your spouse? Well, yeah, I mean, he wants pancakes for breakfast and spaghetti for dinner. I said, well, that's why you're not gluten-free. You're cross-contaminating yourself in the bed, the washer and dryer, the food preparation surfaces, making the food, cooking and everything. You're swimming in gluten and you think you're gluten-free.
So I have a little story, Dr. Wallach, about the gray hair.
Okay.
So about 20 years ago, my stepdaughter came up and she just started pulling my hair. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, well, Mama, you have these white hairs that aren't supposed to be there. And today, after only 4 years being on the products, I have this little patch, and that's all the gray hair I have now.
So 90% of it's grown back in the normal color.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the patch where you didn't get maximum benefit yet, you probably have some arteries in there. So these little microscopic arteries that feed those hairs are partially plugged, so you're not getting the maximum benefit. So it wouldn't hurt. I'll give you a secret. Take our bottle of liquid minerals, just a plain unflavored minerals, no sugar in it, just in water, okay. Just a plain, okay, liquid minerals, and take a cotton ball and soak it and pat that on your hair before you go to bed at night in that spot so it's absorbed through the skin. And let's see if we can regrow some of that color.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Absolutely. Because that's the only thing that's keeping me looking like 50.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways.
And you're a beautiful 50.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's go to Christine, who has her hand up patiently. Christine, go ahead and unmute yourself. You are on live with Dr. Wallach.
Hi, Dr. Wallach.
Hi, Christine. How can we help you?
Yeah, you mentioned that one of the procedures you use to help those ones suffering from rheumatoid arthritis is minocycline, and together with other supplements. Mm-hmm. So what would you recommend for, which dosage will you recommend for this relative of mine with 252 LBS, 48 years old, bedridden with a rheumatoid arthritis? She cannot even walk.
Weighs 242 pounds?
252.
252, okay. Any other issues? Diabetes, high blood pressure?
High blood pressure also.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now, you had it right. Now, so they need to get rid of all the gluten so they can absorb stuff. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens. At 242, I'd have them take 2 of the Healthy Brain and Heart packs per month, full dose everything twice a day. I'd have them get 2 bottles of the MSM, so they can take 3 of those with each meal, okay, to regrow the walls of blood vessels, skin, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, bone matrix, ligaments, tendons. And then because of the high blood pressure, I'd also have them take 3 of the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets 3 times a day. It'd be 3 bottles a month. It will support healthy blood pressure and healthy blood flow through blocked arteries. And then for the minocycline to kill the mycoplasma bug that causes rheumatoid arthritis. Remember, when you have rheumatoid arthritis, it's 2 diseases. You get bone-to-bone arthritis, which is a simple nutritional deficiency. Then you get a secondary infection with a bug called mycoplasma. And mycoplasma is a bug that's kind of halfway between a bacteria and a fungus, but it's killable with a tetracycline-like drug, okay? Okay, and so it's called minocycline, but that's a prescription drug, and he wants a 6 weeks prescription, so he can take it every day for 6 weeks for his body weight, and it'll kill that bug, and then our program will rebuild the cartilage and ligaments and tendons, connective tissue. But the rheumatoid arthritis is not an autoimmune disease. Doctors call it an autoimmune disease because until I discovered that it was actually caused by a bug, they believed that it was an autoimmune disease. Same way with lupus. Lupus is just a gluten problem. Okay, and that butterfly rash they have on their face is a deficiency of a single nutrient. And so all of these things that they call autoimmune disease are not. There are no autoimmune deficiency diseases. There are no genetic diseases. That's why my thesis for my postdoctoral fellowship, my PhD degree equivalent, is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. Call us every 2 weeks and let us know how this person is doing.
Okay. Now, if like in the place we are, like in Bahrain, this minocycline is not available yet. I have so many friends with the similar condition. Which alternative will you recommend for minocycline?
Okay, what you do is you have to get online and look for a friend who's a nurse practitioner or something like that, who can actually work with you to get that minocycline sent into whatever procedure they need to do. Send it into each individual, have it brought in by somebody who's flying there and bring it in a briefcase legally and so on. And so you need to get with a nurse practitioner. A doctor is not going to do it because he wants to treat that patient for the rest of that patient's life. He doesn't want to get rid of it.
Yes, that's a big challenge. They won't prescribe for you here.
Okay.
All right.
Salam alaikum.
Okay. What about gray hair, doctor? How can I reverse gray hair? I'm still young. Yes, I don't want gray hair on my head.
Okay. Well, again, gray hair, you want to take the 90 essential nutrients, a healthy brain and heart pack, 1 per 100 pounds of body weight, and get an extra bottle of our selenium. If you only weigh 100 pounds or 120 pounds, if you weigh 150 pounds or more, you want 2 healthy brain and heart packs. That'll be enough. But if you only weigh 120 pounds, there's 1 healthy brain and heart pack. Get another bottle of selenium because 1 comes with that. It's not the selenium that'll help you get your hair color back, but it's the cofactors in the selenium that we've added that will actually help your body make the hair color again. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Salam alaikum. Shukran.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Wallach, we are at the top of the hour. And I know Christine personally, and she's had some amazing results on your products already. So she's like on fire telling everybody. So I love that. I love that. Would you like to take 5-10 minutes?
Yes, I do need to take a break. I'll be right back.
All right. Sounds good. And we thank you, everybody, for joining us here on Ask Doc Live. Again, if you do not have if you're not working with anybody and you want to try the products that Dr. Wallach has formulated and he's recommending here today, please call our call team. They're sitting there waiting for your call. They are there to help you. And that number is 855-949-7234. Now, if you are currently taking products or you've ordered products in the last year or so, you can call our corporate office. They can pull up your account. They can get your order processed for you because you're already established. That number is 800-982-3189. Again, 800-982-3189. Or go to our website, askdoclive.com. We do have a store that's attached to that website. If you already know your customer distributor number and your password, you can go ahead and do your checkout there quite easily. You can also respond to the email that you received with the announcement and invitation to this call, and we would be more than happy to help you there as well, get you the products that you need based on Dr. Wallach's formulations and his research. So I just want to thank everybody again for taking 2 hours of their day every Friday and joining us here. Please share this call with your friends. They can go to Ask Doc Live also. They can sign up to get put on that reminder list so that they get their own invitation to the call. And please note, we do not sell or share this list with anybody. It stays within our use only and is only used for these calls. So we appreciate you, we respect your privacy, and we want to make sure that your information is not abused. Nasima, is there anything that I've been missing that I should share?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the call. Thanks, Rebecca. I'd like to just remind everybody to please, 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 after the call, if you do not have your first name and last name or your complete phone number set up on your Zoom profile to display, just letting you know that we may not let you in if you just provide a first name or just something that's not a name. And that's just to keep our calls secure, and for security purposes, we want everyone to feel safe and in a comfortable environment. So please take a moment after the call, play around in your profile settings for your name display of your first name and last name. Thank you.
And yes, that will save you time in the waiting room also when we start letting people in. If you have first name and last name, or even just your first name, last initial, we let you in a lot faster than if you just have your name. And I have it set up so that you can actually rename yourself once you get into the call as well. So that is something that is available. If you click on participants and then put your cursor over your name, click on more, you can rename yourself there. Okay. And for anybody that wants to ask questions, if you click on chat, at the bottom of the chat, it comes up with the ability to raise your hand. And that's how people are raising their hands, getting that little blue hand up there. Go ahead and raise your hand, because I do call on people in the order that their hands are raised and the order that their comments are put into the chat box. Please make sure you put age, weight, height, and all conditions that you're experiencing, because as you can hear Dr. Wallach, even if we're talking about a torn meniscus, he wants to know what else are you experiencing, because he doesn't address just that one thing. You know, the body as a whole works together. So you need to nourish the whole body for everything to work properly. So just like, you know, you've got cholesterol in one area, you've got cholesterol in every vein of your body. If you've got osteoarthritis in your big toe, you've got it in your head. It's not something that just picks and chooses where it wants to land. So,
Rebecca, if I may, I just want to remind everyone, the awesome good food, bad food list is also available online at askdoclive.com. And do provide your email address on there if you don't have that already set up. You'll get these awesome weekly reminders and information to the next calls. And also you'll get the link directly sent to your email of the recorded calls. So when asking a question, then you're not, you know, focusing. We want you to focus on asking your question and listening to Doc with the valuable advice and protocol he gives you. And you can always go back to the recorded call to listen to it again and then take notes at that time.
absolutely. Very good information. Thank you so much, Nasima. And I love having that good foods, bad foods list. I have so many people say, Doc goes through that so fast. Where can I find that information where I can just look at it? As Nasima said, it's on the website, Ask Doc Live. So Dr. Wallach, are you ready to get going again?
I'm back.
All right. So next we have Norm with his.
Norm.
Yep. Norm, go ahead and unmute yourself. You are on now with Dr. Wallach.
Hey, I'm back again.
Yes, sir.
Been on these supplements about 2 weeks. Problem is I have this constant headaches. Now, it's going to be a while for my cranium to rebuild itself to where my eyes will stop hurting.
Okay, you're going to expect, once you get rid of all the bad foods, depending on, since you have white hair, I can see,
Yeah.
you probably don't have many villi left in your intestines. They're probably all gone. So
Right.
it may take a month or two for all, how old are you, 70 something?
67.
67, okay, well, 67, 70 is close enough.
Pretty close.
Yeah, and so you probably don't have many villi left, and so it's going to take you, say, anywhere from 30 to 60 days to begin to seriously regrow villi. And
Okay.
so it's one of those things, depending on how much damage you have in there, and how many people you associate with that are still eating gluten and so on, because you keep getting cross-contaminated. You don't want to be working in a restaurant. You don't want to be working in a beer bar, or you're just swimming in wheat all the time, and so on. You can't be working at a spaghetti factory or Taco Bell or any of the pizza parlors. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so you got to give it a little bit of time. But we do have two things. If these headaches are from swelling in your head, inside your head, or in your bones or whatever, you can use our CM cream. Apply that to your temples and in front of your ears, behind your ears, where your jawbone is, on the back of your head and the neck, kind of thing. And also, you may have some toxic metals in you. I don't know if you've done one of our hair analyses. So you can get our book, Rare Earth. Okay, Rare Earths Forbidden Cures, Chapter 11 tells you how to collect the hair, where to ship it, in 2 weeks you get the results back. And not only does it tell you if you're absorbing or not, because of all the bars of all the nutrients are below the bottom line, you're not absorbing, right?
Okay.
That's very valuable information. But then let's say some of them are good, some of them are in the middle, and some are very low. You know which ones you have to get extra nutrients to fill in those low ones.
I see.
But equally important, there's a set of bars for toxic metals, lead and mercury and uranium and all kinds of weird stuff. And so I get a hair analysis once a year myself.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, once a year. And that way you're seeing if you're improving, you're seeing if you're getting worse, because a lot of people, they don't know where they're getting contaminated from. Well, I don't work around, where am I getting all that uranium from, kind of thing. But, and, you can see it's slowly going down, but because we show you, in the books, Let's Play Doctor, Let's Play Herbal Doctor, Passport Aromatherapy, and it's all in your head. We teach you how to get rid of the toxic metals, as well as how to supplement properly and for each disease and so forth, and how to diagnose the disease yourself so you don't have to go to a hospital for 2 weeks and get killed.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, that help you out? But it's going to take a little time because of your age, and you have a lot of symptoms on the outside, which says, it tells me things just by looking at you. When I go give a lecture to 500 people, and out of the 500 people, there'll be maybe 40 or 50 of them in there with gray hair like you got.
Yes.
And so I already know a lot about them, and they're sitting in the 10th row, or the last row in the back of the 25th row, and I already know what's wrong with them because of their white hair.
Thank you. May I ask one more question?
Oh, please, yes.
About the dog food, we recently went to some gluten-free dog food.
Okay, good.
But it's still dry. I mean, we
That's
got
fine.
some of them.
As long as it's gluten-free.
Okay.
But read the ingredients and make sure it doesn't have any oats in it, because a lot of people think that oats don't have gluten in them. And
Right.
they'll call it gluten-free dog food, but it has oats in it.
I heard that earlier. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. That's it.
But no, you can have dry dog food made from rice and potatoes and millet and buckwheat, which is not wheat, and carrots and all kinds of stuff. And so you can have dry dog food without gluten in it, but you got to read the label, because you can't trust when they say gluten-free. Even if they have the gluten-free symbol on it, you still have to read the label of the ingredients.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, and please contact us every couple of weeks and let us know how things are going, because there's a lot of our attendees and listeners will want to track you. You're going to save a lot of people with your story.
Thank you. Okay. I
You
will
bet.
do.
Let me unmute myself. So Ruth is 43-year-old, or has a 43-year-old male that she's working with, weight of 78 kilograms, height 5'7". Bloating made worse by fluids, including water. If he eats and doesn't drink water, the stomach is relatively quiet, but once he drinks water, it begins to form gas.
Okay, and I apologize. How old? At 78 kilos, you're looking at 160, almost 200 pounds, 180 to 200 pounds kind of thing.
43 for the age.
Okay, yeah, and so basically, this individual needs to get rid of all the bad foods. He needs a good food, bad food list. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, butter, rye, and oats. And then I would also have him take 2 or 3 of our ultimate enzymes, say 2 to 5 minutes before each meal with a couple ounces of water. And then I would give him 2 of the Healthy Brain and Heart packs for a month, full dose of everything twice a day. And if there's no other issues, I didn't hear high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis, or anything like that. And of course, we have the secret sauces for all those, but start out with 2 Healthy Brain and Heart packs per month, full dose of everything twice a day. Get rid of all the bad foods. And I would throw in the MSM. Go ahead and get 1 bottle of MSM a month so you can take 3 of those twice a day or 2, 3 times a day for a total of 6 a day. And get rid of all the bad foods. And don't forget the ultimate enzymes, say 2 to 5 minutes for each meal. When you have bloating, that's gas, and that's due to bacterial growth. Okay, bacteria generate gas as a side effect of fermentation. And so when you get food in there and you're making the environment optimal for the bacteria by putting more fluids in there, the bacteria grow and generate gas. So the gas is caused not by acid reflux or anything like that, but it's actually caused by bacterial growth. And so you need the ultimate enzymes, not any enzymes, but ultimate enzymes. Ultimate enzymes, as the name implies, is more than just enzymes. Okay, it's got ox bile in there. So even if you've had your gallbladder removed, you're getting bile to help you absorb and deal with good fats. Also, it has stomach acid in the ultimate enzymes. And so it keeps the stomach environment sterile so the bacteria can't flourish and generate gas. That's why we call it ultimate enzymes, because it is the ultimate digestive product, because it covers the gallbladder, the stomach, the intestines, and absorption.
So especially with somebody that does not have their gallbladder, they need those ultimate enzymes, right, Dr. Wallach?
The ultimate enzyme. That's why we call it the gallbladder in a bottle. Absolutely. Or if they have gallstones, a lot of people, they'll get gallstones. And so don't let them take your gallbladder out. Do not let them take your gallbladder out. Do not let them take your gallbladder out. Okay, we get so many people, they actually have a gluten problem. And the ascending colon from where your appendix is in your right part of your groin up to your ribs, the colon will make a 90-degree turn, okay? And it goes across, it's called the transverse colon from the right to the left, and it has the descending colon down. Well, that place where you go from the ascending colon, where your ribs are, to that 90-degree turn to the transverse colon, that point is where your gallbladder is also. That pain is always from gluten in that area. They always take your gallbladder out, but it was really a gluten problem.
Yeah, I had an MRI that showed that I had gallstones and kidney stones.
Okay.
I had a major gluten problem and didn't think I did. So
yeah, well, kidney stones are actually caused by a lack of calcium. And doctors will say, oh, no dairy, please, no dairy, absolutely no calcium supplements, because they stupidly believe that calcium in the kidney stones comes from your dietary calcium. No. If you get a hair analysis, the calcium levels in your hair analysis will be off the roof, which to the doctor confirms his concerns about you taking in too much calcium. Well, the reason why your hair analysis shows your calcium's off the roof when you have kidney stones is your parathyroid glands, not your thyroid glands, but your parathyroid glands are pulling the calcium out of your bones because you have a severe calcium deficiency and trying to maintain the calcium levels in your bones, but they overreact. And so your hair analysis will show a chronic high level of calcium in your blood. not because you're eating too much calcium, eating too much dairy. It's because you don't have enough and your parathyroid glands are pulling it out of your bones and actually aggravating your osteoporosis. Okay, so you need more calcium, get off of gluten, and take your ultimate enzymes and stay away from the surgeon.
And I did say no a couple times.
Good for you.
Because that goes right along with the diagnosis that I had received with the degenerative bone disease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. When you have kidney stones, the odds are you have osteoporosis, degenerative bone disease, and arthritis, osteoporosis, and osteoporosis of the skull. You have all those things going on when you have kidney stones.
Head to toe.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, we have Mike with his hand up. Mike, go ahead and unmute yourself. You are on live with Dr. Wallach.
Hey, doctor, how you doing, man?
Okay, how can we help you, sir?
Good. Well, I've got some high blood pressure problems, and I'm 60, 5'8", 220 pounds. I did weigh 240 2 months ago.
Oh, congratulations.
I dropped 20. I heard you on George Norrie. I got up in the middle of the night and wrote down your stuff, and I've been on your show every Friday. You're helping me a lot.
Okay, good. Thank you for the feedback.
My blood pressure's dropping. Today it was 111/68.
Mm-hmm.
But I had asked a question before I typed in a chat, and you said to at least keep taking half a pill. I've been on them for 30 years. I'm taking half a pill now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get off them.
Okay, I would cut that in half and take a quarter of a pill.
All right.
But, okay, don't forget, you need to take the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets in addition to the 90 you're taking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd go ahead and get 2 bottles a month of those, take 3 twice a day, and that will support healthy blood pressure and support healthy blood flow through blocked arteries. And the odds are, when you have high blood pressure, did the doctors ever say, you know, you got some stuff going on in your kidneys, we're going to keep an eye on that in case you need dialysis? They ever talk to you about that?
No, they never did. 30 years ago, they put me on the blood pressure pills because I had high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I owned a couple auto centers, Kmart Auto Center, because they asked me, what do you do? Because I was in decent shape.
Mm-hmm.
I exercise all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, I told them I own a couple auto shops, you know, and that's a crazy business.
Carrying parts around.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people come in screaming and hollering, my car's broke down. Then when it's not fixed on time, you know, screaming and hollering, I need my car. It's always constant stress, you know, and well, it's supposed to be, you know, hereditary in my family. Well, I've been taking the pills, but after listening to you, I'm like, I need to get off these damn things.
Okay, you're on the right track. Thank you for sharing the story.
Yeah.
And the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets will make your kidneys work better because it'll get the blood flowing through the blocked arteries into the kidneys. The kidneys will stop making that hormone, renin, which is what drives your blood pressure up. But stay away from the fried foods and the processed meats, the oils, the glutens. We run around oats in your arteries and your brain and your kidneys and your heart, and they will all heal and clean up. Okay? Right.
Another quick thing. I had, my cholesterol was 230. They gave me cholesterol pills. I didn't take them. And my sugar was,
go ahead. Your sugar was?
It was 210 to 220. And they gave me these metformin 500 milligram death pills. And I didn't eat any of those either. Okay, I've been doing a diet, and I'm going to go back for blood test in another couple months or something. Yeah, well, what you want to do is take the sweeties for the diabetes, right? Right.
Okay, and for the so you should be able to get away from that metformin. Yeah, you don't want to be taking any medication, but to begin with, it wouldn't hurt to take the metformin. But you know, you should be able to get off of that in less than 30 days. When you're taking the sweeties. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, Mike is a smart man, Dr. Wallach, because he said he didn't need any of that metformin. So next we have Richard, 53, has had 2 heart attacks, sugar, kidney, and bloating in his midsection. So he's got issues with the sugar and kidneys, and then bloating.
And diabetes.
Yes, that would be my guess when he mentioned sugar.
Yeah, did he say how much he weighed?
He did not say. Okay,
well, let's say per 100 pounds then. Per 100 pounds of body weight. And if he weighs 150, dose for 200 pounds. Per 100 pounds of body weight is 1 healthy brain and heart pack, 3 of the sweeties, okay, twice a day per month per 100 pounds of body weight. And then he needs the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. And that'll deal with the kidneys, blood pressure, diabetes. He needs the MSM. I'd go with 1 bottle a month per 100 pounds of body weight, 3 twice a day. And that'll deal with everything from osteoporosis of the skull to joint and bone problems and disc problems between the vertebrae. And that'll kind of get him going in the right direction.
Sounds good. All right, now with a hand up, we have Robinson Nunez. Go ahead and unmute yourself. You are on live with Dr. Wallach.
Hi, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for so many years helping so many people. I've been listening to you, since I have a memory in coast to coast. So thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
I have a quick question about asthma. It's about my wife, actually, not mine. She's been with asthma since she was a kid. It's being lower, I think, in this recently. I mean, she's been older and getting less asthma incidents, but it's still something that's chronic, ongoing.
Okay. Okay. Well, asthma is a very interesting story. It's a deficiency of a single nutrient. Okay. It's caused by gluten. Okay. She's got to give up gluten, no wheat, brown, rye, and oats. Everybody in her family, spouse, renter, roommates, kids, grandkids, all of her kids need to be gluten-free. All of her brothers and sisters need to be gluten-free from the same mother. I'm going to tell you a story about a very famous pastor, Pastor Creflo Dollar from Atlanta, Georgia. His daughter, gosh, we're talking 25 years ago, was born with asthma, and the doctors told him it was a form of asthma, a genetic form of asthma found in black kids, and she would not live to be 12. And it got worse and worse, and by the time she was 12, she was getting like 10 life-threatening attacks a day from this asthma. And the doctors told Pastor Dollar, look, this is it. She's 12 years old now. They rarely last longer than this, and she's having 12 attacks a day, and she's barely surviving. And one of these times, she's not going to respond to the medication. She won't wake up. And so one of his people in his church was part of our business back then. And he called me and said, anything you can do for her? Yeah. So they put me on a 3-way with Pastor Dollar. And I said, yeah, I can help her. And he was very skeptical, of course, and said, well, I've got the best doctors here, Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, and so forth. And I said, sir, well, have they told you they can help? No. Okay, well, I'm saying I can help. So you have to make a choice here. I won't be offended if you just hang up on me. Just, you have to make a choice. He said, okay, let's give it a shot. So in 2 weeks' time, she was cured. After 12 years of getting worse and worse and worse, and all the directives of the doctor saying she had a genetic form of asthma seen in black kids. And he said, what about all the other genetic diseases in black people? I said, well, there's no genetic disease at all in white people, yellow people, red people, black people. There are no genetic diseases in black people. Come on now, what about high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, heart disease? No, sir. He said, okay, I've got 5 churches I deal with, so I'm going to give you, say, 15, 20 seniors who are 80 years old or above who have all these diseases. Some of them have 4 and 5 of these diseases. They have, all of these diseases, and they're not going to make it over the next year or so. Can you help them? I said, yes, sir. So make a long story short, in 2 months' time, I cured them all. So he had me speak at his church, and he recorded it, and we have the DVD. We have the CD. We have the CD. It's called Black Gene Lies. And we put it into a book, and Pastor Dollar paid for the first 10,000 of these books to be published. Okay, Black Gene Lies. Okay, Black Gene Lies. And also we have the CD that goes along with it. But it's true for white gene lies, yellow gene lies, red gene lies. It doesn't matter what race you belong to. There's no genetic diseases. That's for my thesis, for my 20,000 autopsies, for my postdoctoral fellowship, which is the equivalent of a PhD degree, is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure, because another guy by the name of Bruce Lipton, like Lipton Tea, he and I are considered the founders of a science called epigenetics, which has replaced genetics. They put a hardcover, W.B. Saunders, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm just credibility. W.B. Saunders, which is the epitome of printers and publishers for medical textbooks, and they published my thesis. It was 5,000 pages. So they said, that's too much, nobody's gonna buy that. So they edited it down to 1,200 pages. Still is bigger than any textbook out there. 1,200 pages, covers like 600 different diseases, plus my 20,000 autopsies. And they sell it.
Hold on, Dr. Wallach, just one moment, please. I don't know how everybody got unmuted, but let me mute everybody again. I'm going to request for you to unmute. Okay, Dr. Wallach, go ahead.
Now I'm unmuted.
Go ahead.
I'm fast. Okay.
Continue, please.
Yep, thank you. And so, yeah, thank you for catching that. And so, at any rate, my textbook, the W.B. Saunders, this big publishing house for medical textbooks, sells that book new in the box, still in the wrapper, sealed, for $25,000 each. If it's opened and used, it'll sell for $15,000 to $18,000 each. If it's used and in an acceptable condition, it'll sell for $8,000 to $12,000 each. And if it's beat up and the cover's ripped off and the dog's peed on it, you might be able to get one for $6,000. They published 30,000 of them and sold them all in the first week. So, to make a long story short, these things are easily dealt with just by getting rid of all the bad foods and supplementing with the 90 essential nutrients, and it's not a problem.
All right, so next we have Larry, who typed in first time attending and has a question about rising blood sugar levels going up at 100 or more points at a time. 62 is the age, weight of 225 at 6'2".
Okay, so no bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, butter, rye, and oats, no sugar, obviously. And then I want him to take 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month because of his age, 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month, full dose of everything twice a day. I want him to get 2 bottles of the sweeties per month, so he can take 3 twice a day. And, you know, stay on the medication to begin with, but as the blood sugar drops, you can reduce the medication based on the numbers. And I take people who've been, brittle diabetics for 30 years, and their A1C, which is the scorecard for how well you're taking care of your diabetes, it should be below 5, and their A1Cs are 15 to 19. And then in 30 to 60 days, their A1C comes down to 5 for the first time in 25 years, and their blood sugar, their fasting blood sugar is running at 65 to 80. Never fails.
And I have a few clients that confirm that never fails. So Larry, did you want to say something? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
You're on live, Larry.
Am I on?
You're on.
Okay, yeah. I've been taking the 90 essential vitamins, the sweeties, the enzymes, and the EFA Plus, and the Osteo FX. I've been taking all that for the last 20 days, and my sugar went down. It went from about 300 down to about 140.
Okay.
And in the last 3 days, though, it shot up to 378 and 352, and it stayed around 200.
Okay, stop. There's 2 possibilities, or actually 3 possibilities. Possibility 1, you've run into some gluten somewhere, so you're not absorbing the nutrients. Okay, you went to somebody's house and the house is loaded with gluten, or you went to a restaurant and got cross-contaminated in the restaurant.
I haven't been anywhere. Yeah.
Well, just listen to me. That's one possibility. You're getting cross-contaminated by somebody who did go someplace and came to your house and sat in your couch. Okay. Could be in the dog food. Who knows? You got to read the labels. Number 2, it could mean that well, that's 2 things. Is you either ate some food that had gluten in it, or number 2, you were cross-contaminated by somebody else who came and visited you, or you visited them, or went someplace that had, maybe you went to a church and they had the whole church is filled with gluten in the air because they're giving everybody spaghetti and bread and crackers and cookies or whatever. Do you drink beer?
No, sir.
Okay, good, because beer's got sugar in it and gluten, because beer is usually made out of wheat, right? There are no sugar, there are no gluten-free oats. And also, you could have run into something that has a lot of sugar in it that you didn't realize. And so, you need to do a little investigation, but you'll find something, I guarantee you. The fact that your blood sugar came down from almost 300 down to, below 200 says you were absorbing there for a while and you're avoiding all the bad stuff. Well, you need to be, conscious of every second that you're awake, okay? Of who's around you, what they're eating, what you're doing, where you're at. Are you absorbing? Okay, this is something, I've been doing this for 71 years myself. I'm 81 years old. And my blood sugar runs 60 to 80 all the time when I have my fasting blood sugar. And I do my hair analysis every year. Everything's perfect. And that's because the only time I ever even say the word gluten is when I'm doing a Zoom or on the air or something like that. And I read labels and I find things when they say gluten-free. There's some chocolates, there's a gluten-free. So there's no gluten in these chocolates, but then you read the fine print. These chocolates are packaged on machinery that may also package foods that have gluten in them. So you may get away with it 5 times with that chocolate, no problem. But the 6th time you eat it, they had gluten when that one was being packaged. You understand what I'm saying? So even though you're getting away with it 5 times because everything was perfect, but then the 6th time, they didn't clean that machine after they packaged something that had gluten in it because they were in a hurry and just packaged that chocolate and got cross-contaminated with the gluten, even though it's not in the recipe. And so these are the sort of things you have to pay attention to. What did you eat the night before your blood sugar went up the next day? Where were you at? And so,
Fish and spinach.
Well, spinach, is that all you ate that day?
I had eggs in the morning and then I had salmon and spinach that evening.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Was that smoked salmon?
No, just grilled.
Okay. Grilled? Oh, okay. Was it at a restaurant?
No, at home.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't been going anywhere. Just my wife and I here.
Okay. Does your wife eat gluten?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have anybody else living in the house, grandma or kids or anything?
Nope, just us.
Okay. All right. Well, does your wife work outside the home?
We got 42 acres up here. We just work outside, but not outside the home.
Okay. Do you have livestock?
No, sir, not anymore.
Okay. So you don't have chickens or cows or goats or pigs or llamas or, okay. Yeah. Well, just kind of dig around, see what you can't figure out, but just keep doing what you know is right, because you have one bad day, you were cross-contaminated somewhere, and it may take you a while to figure out where it came from, but you just keep cracking on, putting the pressure on, no gluten, no gluten, no gluten, and take your 90 essential nutrients and keep checking yourself, and you'll see it just keeps going down and down and down and down. You may have a bad day in there, but that's because you got cross-contaminated unwittingly. Okay?
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, you bet. When you figure it out, let us know.
All right. And I just want to thank everybody for your kind comments that are in the comment. We are privileged to have Dr. Wallach with us on Friday.
Well, you're very kind, Rebecca. Thank you.
I love this. I love that we're able to bring you to people where they can come and ask you questions and see you face to face. So something you can't do on George's show.
I know,
right.
George is so much fun.
But I'm prettier, and so is Nasima.
Well, there's no argument there. If it comes to the prettiness, I'll go with Rebecca and Nasima.
And we love your radio shows too that you have Monday through Friday as well. So,
yes.
But this is a great forum for people to ask questions get clarifications one-on-one, special attention as always. You make us all feel so special, Doc. Thank you for that, and thank you for being.
Well, thank you, Naseem. I've been doing the 2 hours of radio Monday through Friday for 30 years.
That's called longevity,
Yeah.
consistency.
Yeah, it kind of leaves you speechless. Yeah.
Go Doc. All right, so we have Richard with his hand up now. Richard, go ahead and unmute yourself. You are on live with Dr. Wallach.
Hi, Doc. How are you doing?
Okay, sir. How can I help you?
You asked about my weight earlier. It's 208 pounds.
Okay.
And I've been experiencing a little bit of kidney problems, diabetes, 2 heart attack. But I survived both, thank God, and bloating. I don't know what's causing the bloating.
Okay. Where are you? That's the least of your worries. Where are you from originally?
I'm in the islands of the Bahamas.
Okay. So 280 pounds, you say?
Yes, 208.
Okay. Oh, 208. Okay, so 200 pounds. Okay. So listen up. None of the bad foods. And you eat a lot of bad foods in the islands. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, butter, iron, oats. You need to live like an Asian. Live on rice and sweet potatoes and vegetables. Rice, sweet potatoes, and vegetables. Okay? And at 200 pounds.
Sweet potato and vegetables.
Yeah, and you can have fish, and you can have red meat, and you can have poultry, but no fried foods, right? No wheat, no barley, no rye, no oats. No wheat, no barley, no rye, no oats. You have to live on rice and sweet potatoes and vegetables, okay? Now, I want you to take 2 healthy brain and heart packs a month, a full dose of everything twice a day. I want you to get 1 bottle of MSM, so you can take 6 a day, 3 twice a day, or 2 3 times a day for a total of 6 for dealing with bones and cartilage and ligaments and tendons and that kind of stuff. Because you have kidney issues and blood pressure issues, they kind of go together. I want you to take 3 of our Ultimate Daily Classic tablets 3 times a day. That'll be 3 bottles a month. Okay, so you can take 3 with each meal. And that will support healthy blood pressure and healthy kidney function. I take people who have not urinated in 10 years. They're on dialysis 6 days a week because they didn't want to get a kidney transplant. Okay, they had been on dialysis for 19 years or 20 years before they got on dialysis for 10 years, 6 days a week, but they've been on dialysis 3 days a week for 20 years or 15 years, whatever it was. And then we put them on the same program I just gave you. And in 2 weeks' time, they're urinating for the first time in 10 years. So they dropped the dialysis from 6 days a week to 3 days a week. And then in 4 more weeks, a total of 6 weeks, they're totally off of dialysis. Their blood pressure is normal. We do this like all the time. Same way with the diabetes. We get people whose A1C is 15 to 19 for 20, 25 years, which is a sort of a scorecard for how you're managing your blood sugar. We get them on our sweeties with the 90 essential nutrients, get them off all the bad foods, and in anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, their A1Cs drop from 19 down to 4, which is normal. 4 to 5 is normal. After 25 years of being between 15 and 19, it drops down to 4. Okay, so you can expect good results for your kidneys, your blood pressure, your diabetes, all your bones and everything. And so give us a call if you would. Every 2 weeks, give us a scorecard. We'll walk you through this, and it'll be a great, great testimony for our viewers and listeners.
Appreciate that, Doc. Thanks a lot.
Okay. God bless. Bye-bye.
All right, Dr. Wallach, we've been talking a lot about gluten and cross-contamination. Now, I have somebody who they're concerned about the gluten in the chicken meat and eggs and the beef because they are eating gluten. Is that something, I mean, and then my husband just wrote me a note saying we have to move because we live in the middle of wheat fields.
That's correct. Very good. Every fall when they harvest, the air is just filled with gluten, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. And so basically, dairy, milk products are the ones you have to worry about when it's gluten. And so that's why I say people need to get milk from range-fed cattle. They're not getting any grain, but they're milking them and selling the milk from range-fed cattle for people who ask that very question. So there is dairy available. It's range fed. They don't give them any grain. So there's not any gluten coming through the milk. Okay. Same way with chickens. They have range fed chickens. And so it just depends on what they're feeding them. If they're feeding corn to their chickens, there's no problem because there's no gluten in corn. But if they're feeding them mixes of oats and rye and wheat and that kind of stuff, there might be some gluten come through in the eggs. That's a possibility. So you want the eggs from range-fed chickens, okay? As opposed to ones that are getting, or get ones that are fed corn only. So you need to, you're going to the farmer and say, hey, what do you feed your laying hens? Oh, we just feed them alfalfa pellets and some corn. Do they get any wheat, barley, rye, oats? No, just corn and alfalfa pellets. Okay, well, that's fine.
So fattening off a calf on corn is okay, but do we need to really pay attention to whether or not that corn is non-GMO?
I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about the genetic modification. That's kind of an environmentalist thing that's sort of way out there. I don't care about the genes in the corn, okay? Because basically they put the genes in there for the corn to resist bugs and parasites and fungus and stuff like that to defend itself, so they don't have to put sprays on it. GMO was invented because of the pressure from environmentalists to get rid of sprays. You can't just grow grain out there because everything's going to eat it before you harvest it.
Right.
So they had to have something. So GMO, okay, is genetically modified so that it tastes bad to the bugs, and fungus and bacteria and viruses won't grow on it, so they can get most of it harvested and sold. And so it's safer than grain that is not GMO.
Because the chemicals haven't been used on it.
That's correct.
The bugs and pests and weeds away.
That's correct.
All right, so Dr. Wallach, the next question by Douglas is, would a colon purge or intestinal detox be beneficial to, he says seniors, I'm going to say anyone, who have been eating gluten for, in his case, over 7 decades?
Yeah, of course. We have what we call herbal rainforest. It's a liquid, has 78 minerals in it, but it also has 13 herbs in it. It's legendary. It comes in quart bottles. So somebody who's, say, 100 pounds could take 1 tablespoon a half hour before bed with some water, okay? And you could do it, say, 2 days a week. If you want to, you could do it. If you tend to be constipated because of the gluten, you can take it every day and if it gives you diarrhea, either cut back the amount or use it twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays instead of every day. And if you weigh 150 pounds, you could go to a whole ounce a half hour before bed. Again, that's the herbal rainforest, it's called. And it's a gem. We use that for detoxifying people that show toxic metals when we get a hair analysis. But we also use it for people who are really sensitive to gluten and they've been actually contaminated with gluten for one reason or another for many, many years. And it's going to speed up the recovery of those villi in the intestine. You want those villi. They make up 95% of the intestinal surface. And you've been eating gluten for 70 years. Those villi go away, and it's going to take more than a day to regrow. Okay, it's going to take you maybe 30 days for them to kind of get 10% and 60 days to get 25%. And it may take you 6 months to fully regrow to the same size they were when you were like 3 years old, perfectly normal. Okay, so it does take some time to regrow, but they will regrow if you're taking the 90 essential nutrients and staying away from the bad foods, including gluten, so that you give them a rest so they can recover and replace themselves. Every tissue in the body has stem cells which replace injured and damaged cells and replace the ones that die just from old age. There's no cells in the body that live for 100 years. Okay, everything dies. And so you have these stem cells that replace the ones that are damaged and hurt. But if you're not absorbing the nutrients, you can't give your stem cells the raw materials they need to do that. They can't do it just from the ether in the air. They need all these raw materials, the 90 essential nutrients.
And I do have to say that herbal rainforest is yummy.
Yes, it is.
Don't overdo it, because you can overdo a good thing.
Yeah, well, you get diarrhea if you overdo it.
Yeah. And then it's over. So Next, we have a comment that's a testimonial, Dr. Wallach. So Donna writes, a few years ago, she had fractured the 5th metatarsal and had several bone spurs. Her podiatrist said that she needed surgery to take out those bone spurs and that she should stop taking dairy and calcium. She told her doctor that my doctor is a naturopathic doctor, Dr. Wallach, and he would say I needed more calcium. Her doctor yelled at her, and she stuck with you, Doc, and is doing great.
Yeah. Well, she should have at that time, in addition to sticking with me, the only thing she left out was she should have contacted the State Medical Association and say that she was abused by that physician.
Oh, wow. Never thought about that.
He has no right to yell at her.
That's true. I don't care who you are.
That's right. Slap your face.
All right. Next, patiently with his hand up, we have Barry. Barry, go ahead and unmute yourself. You are on live with Dr. Wallach.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
You're loud and clear.
Thank you, Dr. Wallach. My wife and I have been taking your supplements for several years now. My wife is 110 pounds. She's 5 feet 1 inches. She's 74 years old, and she's been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. What can you recommend?
Okay. 110 pounds, you say?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you and she, if you haven't been doing it, you both and everybody living in the house, including the dog and the cat and the birds and fish.
It's just my wife and I.
Okay, so you need to get rid of all the bad foods. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, butter, iron, oats, no sugar, no cheat days, no cheat meals a month, nothing like that, right? Then I want her to have, at 100, 110 pounds, I want her to have 3 eggs twice a day with soft yolk, soft boiled, soft yolk, soft poached, soft yolk, soft scrambled in butter. Do not add flour or any kind of grains to the scrambled eggs. And then I want her also to have de-stress capsules, 3 of those twice a day. That's 2 bottles a month. I want her to have the Ultimate Niacin Plus. I want her to have 1 twice a day. That's 1 bottle a month. I want her to have the Synaptive, okay? And I want her to have 3 of those twice a day. That's 2 bottles a month. So it makes the chemicals so the brain cells can talk to each other. And I want her to have the Ultimate Daily Classic Tablets, 3 of those twice a day. That's 2 bottles a month. And that's to get circulation going into the brain because it will support healthy blood flow through the carotid arteries and all the arteries in the brain and so forth, and support healthy blood pressure. And there's Parkinson's disease, MS, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, and a whole bunch of these other diseases that are caused by osteoporosis of the skull and so forth. And they're all the same disease. It's just randomly what part of the brain is more seriously damaged, and you get different symptoms because each part of the brain does a different thing. And so all of these other diseases I treat the same way and they all get better, never fails. And so, you know, give us a call every 2 weeks. We'll walk you guys through this. You and your wife will be such a tremendous testimony. You're going to help lots of people with your wife's story.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So we have a comment in the comments from David from Orlando. He's a huge Coast to Coast fan and says, you, Dr. Wallach, are a national treasure, and I have to agree. He has a question in regards to his daughter. She's 27 years old, 140 pounds, has benign ovarian cysts that have ruptured, always has had bad periods, heavy cramping, clotting, and has frequent headaches.
Okay. And again, how much does she weigh?
140.
140, okay. Well, she needs to get rid of all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, butter, iron, oats. I want her to eat 3 eggs 3 times a day. Soft yolk, soft boiled, soft yolk, soft poached, soft yolk, soft boiled, soft scrambled in butter. Then I also want her to have At 140 pounds, she's right at that cusp. I started out with 1 healthy brain and heart pack per month. Get another bottle of selenium, because 1 bottle of selenium comes with that. So she could take 3 selenium twice a day and a half a dose of everything else twice a day. I also want her to get our Xerafem, Xera-FEM. That is a group of herbs and nutrients that are specific to support healthy ovarian function, for making estrogen and also for making progesterone. Okay. And then we have, let's see here, we have Woman's FX. She can also take 2 doses of that a day, Woman's FX. But it's imperative to stay away from the bad stuff so she can absorb the good stuff. So let's start there. Don't forget the eggs. Do not take any statin drugs to lower cholesterol. And then don't forget the Xerafem, and you're going to see miracles. Has this, we don't know if she's had any children or anything like that, but I've gotten more women pregnant than any other man in history, because they have all these ovarian issues, and it's always caused by malabsorption and malnutrition, not calorie-wise, but nutrient-wise. And so, you know, again, when you get that quartet of books, Let's Play Doctor, Let's Play Herbal Doctor, and Passport to Aromatherapy, and it's all in your head, and you start looking up these female issues, it tells you, you know, what nutrients are missing for this issue and that issue and this issue, and what diet to use and what supplements to use and so forth. And so we do this literally thousands and thousands and thousands of times a day all over the world, because it's common problems. Because since the days of sail, especially when the Dutch and the Spanish went around the world, they would take things like wheat seeds with them, and every place they would go, they'd have the local people growing wheat. So when they would come there the next year, they had lots of wheat so they could make bread and crackers and cookies and that kind of stuff, and have oats to feed their horses and so forth. And so they spread that stuff around the world. And so it's everywhere. And so everybody, regardless of culture, race, everybody has the same problems. I will tell you one thing, and this is because of these Black Lives Matter issues. And again, I would urge people, every Black kid in America needs to read this book, Black Gene Lies, and also listen to the CD, Black Gene Lies. Okay, it was recorded in a Black church in Atlanta, Georgia. But it's one of those things where going back to the days of slavery, which was a terrible thing, but every culture on earth did it. It was what they did. The Egyptians did it. The English did it. The Spanish did it. The Dutch did it. Everybody did it. It wasn't just Americans, but you know, they came here, and people who wanted to be wealthy, like the Europeans, they did slavery just like the Europeans did, and like the Egyptians did, and so forth. The Egyptians weren't innocent. They were some of the first ones to have slaves. But in 1830, right at that time when slavery was ending in the United States, there were more 100-year-old and more 105-year-old Black people than there were white people who were that age. Most white people who owned plantations died in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And there was always about 25% of the Black slaves who lived to be 80, 90, 100. Now, how could that be? Well, that's because the white people just ate the meat from the goats and the chickens and the pigs and the calves and the cows and the deer and so forth. They just ate the meat. And so the slaves were forced to eat the livers and the hearts and the lungs. Of course, the liver has lots of trace minerals in it, but they were also forced to eat chicken feet and pig's feet, which had the calcium, it had the glucogel, so they could have cartilage and ligaments and tendons and connective tissue. You understand what I'm saying? They were forced to eat what the white people thought was the bad stuff. And so they gave them what should I say? They gave them names which were actually, what's the word I'm looking for? They were actually sort of reward names, okay? Uncle Tom, Uncle Remus. Those weren't negative names for those people. They only gave, it was only, Uncle Toms were people who were 100 years old. They didn't give the name Uncle Tom to a 30-year-old Black slave, but one who is 100, 110 years old, who's running the plantation. And there were 3 generations of plantation owners who had come and gone and come and died Well, Uncle Tom kept going on generation to generation to generation. Uncle Remus the same way. And Aunt Jemima, she was the cook for 3 generations of plantation owners. Those were not negative terms. Those were terms of endearment. That's the word that I'm looking for. Those were, they couldn't call them sir because that was for gentry. They couldn't even call white people sir back then. You know, that's what they gave names to kings, Sir Galahad, that kind of thing, right? Mr. and Mrs. They couldn't give that to the slaves. So that's why they came up with Uncle Tom, Uncle Remus, and Auntie Jemima, Aunt Jemima, or Auntie Mame, okay? And so that's because they were eating these weird foods that had all the nutrients in it, and the protein was all being eaten because these people thought, if I just eat the meat, I'm gonna be as strong as that bull. If I just eat the meat, I will be as strong as that bull. Okay, so they just ate the meat and they died from everything you can think of, you know, heart attacks and cancer and irritable bowel syndrome and ulcerative colitis and everything you think of. And the poor slaves are forced to eat all the stuff that the white guys wouldn't eat. And they were the ones who lived the longest and never got hurt out there in the plantations.
Well, I'm very thankful that we have the collagen that has it in a tasteless powder.
Yeah, it beats
that makes
pig's
my
feet.
drinks nice and creamy.
Yeah, it beats pig's feet.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So I just want everybody to know, if you are signed up at AskDocLive.com and you received an invitation to this call, you will also get an email with the replay of this call. And if you're not, if you go to AskDocLive.com, you will find the recordings of past shows. So last person with their hand up, Dr. Wallach, Melanie. Go ahead and unmute yourself. You are our last call today.
Hello, Melanie.
Still waiting for her to unmute herself.
How's that?
There we go. Now we hear you.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, sir, for this program. I have questions for my mother.
Okay.
She is going to be 90 at the end of the year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She's outlived kind of everybody, her twin, most her kids, her friends, you know, so she's very...
how now, was her twin an identical twin or?
No, she had a brother who had lung cancer maybe 20 years ago.
Okay.
So,
mhm.
She started to just kind of live off of milk. And I've had to step in. I go back and forth between my home and we're in Southern California, about 100 miles apart. So I'm trying to help keep her out of a rest home. She's very comfortable where she lives.
Okay, we only have moments here, so you need to get to the question.
I apologize. So she has she's about 5'5", maybe 150 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
She has diabetes, for which she is taking metformin and glipizide.
Okay.
Over the years, however, she's taken so many drugs.
Okay.
Dementia is the concern, dementia.
Okay, so she has dementia. Okay, so 90 years old, so she's done a lot of respectable stuff, right? So she's 90 years old, very good. And she weighs 110 pounds, you say?
Oh, no, I said about 150 maybe.
150, okay. And so get her off all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens. Get her on 2 of the Healthy Brain and Heart Packs per month, a full dose of everything twice a day. I would also have her take the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, 3 twice a day. That's 2 bottles a month. That's to support healthy blood pressure, healthy blood flow through arteries in the brain. That's going to help that part of the dementia issue. She needs to eat 3 eggs twice a day with soft yolks. If she's allergic to chicken eggs, there's duck eggs, quail eggs, okay, guinea eggs, there's some peacock eggs, ostrich eggs, there's all kinds of eggs. If she gets ostrich eggs, she can only eat 1 a day. They're as big as a cantaloupe. Again, it comes down to she's doing something right at age 90, but to get to be 120, don't take her off of milk. She can have chicken, she can have fish, but she needs to be drinking that milk. Milk is the first food for babies, so it's good for a being just starting out. It's universal. all vertebrates either have milk when they're first born, or if they're in an egg, like birds and reptiles, they are growing up inside the eggshell, eating the yolk of the egg and the white of the egg. Okay, so they're eating eggs or dairy as their first foods. And if you're a biblical person, the Bible says the perfect place in the world, the place that God wants everybody to be, is the land flowing with milk and honey. Okay, so milk in of itself is not a bad thing. Environmentalists just got crazy over milk because they're worried about chemicals, you know, sprays on the pastures and sprays on the cows. And
I switched it to organic whole milk.
There you go.
2% grocery brand. So
Okay,
I've tried to prove it. She has milk all day long. That's all good. I did try the sweeties for her about a year ago, and it seemed to nauseate her, so I stopped. But I could try it again.
Okay, we have another one. We have one called glucogenics. Okay, try that one.
Okay.
Okay. And so, yeah, the glucogenics, you could give her, say, start her out with one of those twice a day. Okay, so that one bottle should last 2 months at that rate, and see, but make sure she's off of gluten. No wheat, no barley, rye, oats. She can live like an Asian. She can have rice. She can have sweet potatoes. She can have millet. She can have buckwheat, which is not wheat. And obviously vegetables. I like smoked salmon from Alaska or Norway for seniors. It's got a lot of good stuff in there.
You know, she has opinions on diet, so I don't know, we can make everything perfect, but.
Yeah, well, listen, she's 90 years old. She has the right to do what she wants.
I know that, exactly. So I try to give her what she wants, but you know, she could be living much better, I'm certain. I had some concerns because I bought some of the products and I saw on the receipt a lead warning. And so I returned those items just because I had bought them for my mom and my dog, and I didn't want to be giving them something with lead. I got really confused by the website. And so right now, she doesn't have anything. I'm not even sure where the 90 essentials are. I bought the tablets, but then someone told me.
Okay, the tablets, you know, the tablets are antioxidants. They are not a replacement for the powder.
Yeah, that was confusing for me, and I made that mistake.
Well, don't feel bad. It's a common mistake. People say, well, I'll just take the tablets. Well, when you read the label, they're not even remotely the same.
She's much more likely to swallow pills than to drink something.
Well, we do have multiple, which is not quite, you know, as good as the BTT 2.0 powder. It's called the Ultimate Daily tablets. Ultimate Daily Classic are the ones for the high blood pressure and the plugged arteries. But the Ultimate Daily tablets are big yellow tablets, and you may want to grind them up, you know, smash them between 2 spoons and put them with a teaspoon of applesauce or something like that. But I take everything. I take those Ultimate Daily tablets as well as everything. But people who can't take the BTT 2.0 powder for some reason or another, start her out on the on the Ultimate Daily tablets. Comes in a big white bottle, and she could start her out with 2 twice a day. And
so we're going to fall short because she's not willing to take all these pills all day long, especially if they're large.
Grind them up and put them in applesauce.
Okay.
We've tried
applesauce. It's not always successful, but I appreciate the guidance.
Okay.
One thing I want to add is one thing that I've noticed with California, anything that is consumable is going to come with a warning. So whether it has it in it or not, you're going to get that
warning for all foods.
Yeah. So you're not going to be giving any type of
None of our stuff has what should I say? None of our stuff has
hazardous
lead in it. Yeah, toxic levels of lead in it. Yeah.
On the receipt, certain items were indicated and others weren't. So I kept the ones that weren't. I got confused.
Yeah, well, California, you can't even sell fertilizer in California because it has fertilizer in it.
Okay.
It's pretty crazy. And they require us to put that on the.
I just lost.
That's why California is burning. 11,000 lightning strikes in 72 hours I'm actually writing an article on this. It's called Sky Fire, because the carbon dioxide level in California is the highest in the nation, not because of the carbon dioxide coming from fossil fuels, but because they've dammed up all the rivers with dams to make hydroelectricity, and they've shut off the food supply to the algae in the rivers and the ponds and the oceans that eat the carbon dioxide. And so carbon is fuel. Carbon burns, whether it's wood or coal or the carbon in the air. So when you get 11,000 lightning strikes in 72 hours in central California, it's because it's in a valley, right? And these are places where they've dammed up all the rivers to make hydroelectricity because they don't want fossil fuels. And they've created this fuel source in the air. So I call it Sky Fire. And I actually have a DVD. I gave a 2-hour lecture at Tesla a year ago in August of 2019. The first 2/3 of the lecture goes into all the details of that and how it's the hydroelectric dams that have killed off all the reefs in the ocean because they've shut off the food supply to the algae, which eats the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the food of plants. If it was just carbon dioxide, the plants should be flourishing and growing like crazy on Earth because of all the extra carbon dioxide. So why does the carbon dioxide keep going up? Well, because we've shut off the food supply to the plants, the minerals that are required to convert, for the plant to convert carbon dioxide into oxygen and carbon chains. So I have a plan to get the silt from behind all the dams to feed the oceans, the ponds, the rivers. And so all the algae in the ponds and the rivers and the oceans can eat the carbon dioxide, and the reefs will come back and the ocean will come back, and you can drive all you want with your car.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Woohoo! All right, real quick, is there any sugar that's good to eat? Honey, coconut sugar, raw sugar?
I would go with honey because it's biblical. Go to the land flowing with milk and honey. It doesn't say going to the land flowing with white granular sugar.
Right. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Wallach. We have kept you over. We appreciate your time. We want to be respectful of it.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, Rebecca, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nasima. Lieutenant Colonel Wallach, over and out.
Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you, everybody, again.
Bye-bye.
For being with us today with the Ask Doc Live. And again, the content of this program is to provide nutritional education information only. It is not meant to take the place of your primary care physician. The FDA requires us to let you know that our products are not meant to treat, prevent, diagnose, or cure any diseases, but as an empowered individuals, we want you to have available to you options. And again, with Dr. Wallach being one of the founding fathers of epigenetics, here to guide us, we are actually very blessed to be able to have his knowledge so that we ourselves can regain our health, take that power back, and obtain or maintain optimal health. So if you did not get your question answered, and I think we got through most of the questions pretty good today. If you did not get your question answered, please, you can go to askdoclive.com and there's a contact us option in there. You can send your email there or simply reply to the invitation that you received that gave you the information to log on to this call today, onto this Zoom. And you can reply to that with your question. We do try to get to all of them. They are abundant, but I am doing my best to make sure that everybody's questions get answered. And please remember that if somebody on the call had their question that was very similar to yours and you wrote in with that, please pay attention to what Dr. Wallach said for them, because the same is going to hold true for you. So again, people are standing by on our call team at 855-949-7234. For those of you who have never tried the Youngevity products, please feel free to give them a call. If you are a current Youngevity customer, contact your distributor. They should have reached out to you. If they haven't, you can call our corporate office at 800-982-3189. Again, that's 800-982-3189. And you can request that they send your distributor an email to contact you as well. But they can also help you with any repeat orders if you'd like to order more product or anything that Dr. Wallach mentioned in any of the protocols that he shared with us today and through the past weeks. We again thank you so much for joining us today. Have a very blessed weekend and next week, and we'll see you again here Friday, same time, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. plus Pacific time, which is 1 Eastern time. So everybody have a fantastic day. And again, this is Rebecca Dukes-Kozak on behalf of Nasima, and Ruth Ellen was here with us helping as well, and Dr. Wallach. We appreciate all of you taking time to invest it into yourself and into the health of your loved ones and those in your community. Have a fantastic day.